My name is Karen Luobikis. I was born in Gisborne, New Zealand. I came in 1976 April to Melbourne, and I was nursing. Like a lot of people in the 70s, thought Australia was a bit better than New Zealand, and came here and decided I was going to see the world, and started with Melbourne, and then we came in a car, drove up here and got to Eden on our way to see the world, and the car broke down. And then I met my husband Dennis, who was an abalone diver. As I didn't have a car because it took a month to get a part in those days, we had to find work. He suggested I might want to work on an abalone boat, and I thought, yeah, it's something new, I'll try that, you know. So I went and worked on an abalone boat. I wasn't the only deckhand on the boat. A bloke called Neil Hargraves and all the deckhands and a lot of people in Eden, as you probably know, have nicknames, and they called him Grovel. And he was working on the boat as well, so I wasn't totally on my own. And it was just, we would go out early in the morning. Dennis would dive, and Grovel actually taught me how to be a deckhand, because I had no idea what I was doing. First 3 days I was just threw up. Grovel would haul up the bags, and I would, because he was a bit stronger than me, and I would empty them into the bins, and we would load them up and stack them up, and that went on all day. And I said, like, it would be sometimes 8 hours Dennis would work. He'd just non-stop, you know, and come up at just once for a bit of a break, eat a chocolate bar or something like that for his energy, and go back down again. And then we would come home on the cutty sark, a bit slower than speedboats, but we would go home. Sometimes we would be actually out there for a couple of days and get a couple of days of abs, you know, but not that often. And then we'd come in, and then Dennis would somehow manage to go up the pub and have a counter tea and leave Grovel and I on the boat shelling abs, and bring us a bottle of rum and some fish and chips. And I said, you know, like if we came in, say, by 5, we would still sometimes, depending on the size of the catch Dennis got, we could actually be shelling abs till 12 o'clock at night. I know plenty of girls did decking, but just like me, it was their partner or husband, and no, we didn't get paid a lot. We were there for love.
My name is Beverley Illes. I came down to Eden in 1970, end of 1976. Yeah, Alex was down here, so I sort of kind of followed him down, and have lived here for 15 years in Eden. And then when we sold out of the diving, moved to Woolooware in Sydney. Lived there for 23 years. Then we returned to Eden, and got here I think in 2013. From 1983 to 1990 I was deckhand on his ab boat. The boat named Seaweed. Now they do. I had no licence to drive the boat. No training as a deckhand. I was just out there, probably like you, driving the boat, no licence. Whoops, if anything happens, you know. What we were doing. But now it's all very strict, you can't, you know. Mm. And my role was to, I guess, keep Alex safe, follow him wherever he went with his diving, you know, follow him with the boat.
When we worked on the cutty sark and those things, the boat was a wooden boat and a displacement hold, they used to call it. That we'd put the anchor down and Dennis would dive, and then we'd just pull up the anchor and move the boat. But working live is you've got to follow the diver around, and when he's working, and keep the boat moving. You don't put in the anchor. You've got to make sure that the hoses don't get tangled. That's the hardest thing on the boat, because especially when they're working live too, you've got to make sure you don't, you know, cut off the hose, which a lot of divers will tell you it's happened. Stacking your abs, you've got the hooker going, which smells dreadful if the wind's blowing the wrong way, it can make you feel quite sick. And then making sure the boat's not going on the rocks when it's hitting the swell, if there's a swell there and stuff like that, you know. And then you've always got your diver yelling out to you because you're always on the wrong side, never the right side, or being abused because you're a long way from, like, bring the boat over here sort of thing. So
the conditions I worked in, well, some days it was really calm and you could follow in with the boat and that. Then other days it was quite choppy and that, so you'd have to get the boat and put it on, drive forward over the anchor, run up the top of the boat, pull the anchor up, jump back down, didn't you, Karen? You know, like it was, and it was very hard work for, well, I guess for a woman, I don't know, but women work hard in other countries.
yeah, hard work, extremely hard work. Not well paid. Not well paid at all. I got fed. I got paid sometimes, and counted teas, and at the we had no showers or anything like that, and then for a girl that was quite hard. So the boys used to sneak me, Grovel and Dennis would sneak me into the Australasia, or the pit as people want to call it, and I would sneak into the men's showers and have a shower, often with two men on each side of me talking to me and me not talking to them. A lot of people did live on boats at the wharf. I actually stayed on the boat with Dennis for, I think it was nearly 18 months we were on the boat. And then there was a, you know, it was quite, you know, we still had rough seas and we had those sort of things, and I managed to get my sea legs and I was better at all that. But then there was the time that I decided it was all over for me. I was coming home from Disaster Bay, and another diver was there. His name, we called him Squeak. His actual name was Glenn. And him and his deckie, we had this little Haynes Hunter boat, and Squeak had the same sort of boat. And we looked down towards Malakuta, the deckie and I, and it was a big, massive black sky, and thought, oh, maybe we should bring the divers up. Yet the water was quite calm. And we pulled them up and they're saying, what's up? And we pointed down there and they said, oh, I think we might go home. And from nowhere, they basically got on the boat and got the abs sorted. We did all that, and they still had their wetsuits on. They didn't take them off. We did this wind and from everywhere, and the sea just seemed to come up. It just was huge, and we're in Disaster Bay, and it wasn't till we got round the other side of Green Cape that we hit the massive sea, and a ride that would take us, you know, in the speedboat, sometimes 20 minutes to half an hour to get home, took us 2 hours that day. And I remember we would go down the side of a wave, and then we'd go right down like into what I sort of called a gully type thing, and then come up the other side. And when we came up the other side, I felt like if we got to the top, the wave would come over and we wouldn't get over. We were just getting over. And then I remember looking at Squeak's boat, and it was flying through air, propeller, everything out, and going down and hitting the bottom, the same as that. And I thought, we must be doing that too. So we went over one wave, and Dennis Watson was the other diver on the boat with Dennis, and because the two of them were there. And I was in the middle of them holding onto the thing, and we hit a bump which I didn't quite ride very well, and I nearly went over the top. I hit my chin on the glass bit and cut my chin. I've still got the little scar there. And Dennis Watson just caught the back of my pants, because Dennis was driving the boat. How he was doing it, I don't know, and just caught me in time before I went right over the front of the boat. And like I said, it took 2 hours to come home. I was very quiet after that, holding my chin because I had blood coming out by then. And then we got off the boat, and I walked onto the deck, and I said to Dennis, I quit, you can stick it, I'm over, I'm going to the can room. That was the last time I was a deckhand on the boat. That was enough for me. And, you know, I mean, us divers have probably seen worse than that, but that for a girl on a boat, no, that was enough.
Of course, coming home in humongous seas, people couldn't believe that you'd get home in the little 17-foot Haynes Hunter boat we had, but it was a good boat because it had extra fiberglass in it, so I think it was good, you know, in a big sea. But you'd jump out the water like they all do, you know. It was scary, but as I said, there were lots of fun times and that too. Another time we were coming across Disaster Bay and the sea was huge, and I said to Alex, oh God, go around the edge if something happens. We've got a chance to swim in. Well, I shouldn't have told him that because the sea was much bigger. It was huge, honestly. By the time we got around the corner at Green Cape, and it was behind us, the big southeasterly swell, and you look back like that and it's just a wall of water coming onto your boat, and you just prayed and hoped to God the motor didn't stop again. But anyway, no, it was scary. Most times I'd stand out there and I'd have my hat on, and then if it got very hot I'd just fill the bucket up with water and tip it on myself to cool myself down like that, you know. You come home all covered in salt and yeah, but
Lots of sunscreen.
Lots of sunscreen I used to use, yeah. But as I said, balaclava when I travelled, like, you know, Mum knitted me a nice yellow one, a balaclava. It used to be funny when you'd go diving up in Sydney and you'd go around Port Hacking Bay, all those places, and people would be looking, thinking, oh my God, I hope there's armed robbers coming to our house from the water, you know, like it was funny. When you think back on it, it was really funny. But that's the way it was. My mum couldn't understand. We took our boat and that up to Sydney, and we were working out of Sydney, and I said to her, it was Mother's Day. And of course Mum had the big Mother's Day thing planned. I said, Mum, I can't come, I've got to go out to work. And she said, you can't work on Mother's Day? She said, that's dreadful. I said, Mum, I'm not going to miss out on $600 or $800 because it's Mother's Day. I've got to go out when the sea's right, and that's it. You know, like, they didn't understand.
It could sometimes be a couple of months and the weather would be really bad. I remember I'll never forget that pot of soup. We lived in a caravan down the beach at one stage, and I was working at the co-op then, and we didn't have a lot of money, and Dennis hadn't been able to work for over 6 weeks, and there wasn't a lot of money in ABS then, and we had a pot of chicken soup, and we kept adding more and more water to it, but the veggies got leaner and leaner. And then one of the other divers, Graham Banks, came round to visit us in the caravan, and he invited Dennis and I around to his house, because he had his wife and he had a few children and things there, because he reckoned we looked like we were starving. So I said, but we're quite young then and we didn't have much money, you know, so, but they were those times. But I don't know, the way I look at it, it's all character building.
You know, it wasn't all hard yakka out there, but lots of times it was. And sometimes I'd say to myself, I'll never go out again, but you always did. But you saw lots of nice things out there that other people would sort of never see, you know.
Yes.
Up at Haycock on the northern side of Haycock, Alex was diving away, and then I just looked over and there's 2 beautiful killer whales, both together, jump right up out of the water. It was a sight. I would never see anything like that if I didn't do that sort of work. So it was, for those times I was grateful of when I saw beautiful things like that. And then you hear sometimes on the odd occasion, you hear the little fairy penguins, a couple of them, and they make such a noise that it echo all over the place, you know. Seeing things like that's lovely, you know. People have never had, a lot of people have never ever had the chance to see anything like that. So I class myself as lucky being with that, and lucky that we came down and he got into the diving and we succeeded with it and made a bit of money out of it and were able to get a house, you know what I mean, like, so we were lucky, you know.
But an amazing lifestyle, an absolutely amazing lifestyle. You have a holiday where you want, when the money was right into it. It's not so much there now because we've had quota drops and government regulations and all those things, but the lifestyle itself, Dennis absolutely loved what he did, which a lot of people don't. And I just loved the lifestyle myself too, because we were our own boss. You know, we came from living on beaches and in tents to, you know, having nice homes, $1 million houses on the cliff, back to reality, and, you know, things like that happen.
It was a good industry and people worked very hard, and sure they might have made big money, the divers, but I tell you what, they worked hard for it, you know.